Thank you, colleagues, for being here. Today we present how works process-oriented Agile CPW subject-object relationship diagram modeling with the CPW Process Method. My name is Bernd Schneider and I'm really excited to present this subject matter area. How works process-oriented Agile CPW subject-object relationship diagram modeling with the CPW Process Method? How can be created from a business process with the CPW method a CPW subject-object relationship diagram? Before we start with the process-oriented Agile CPW subject-object relationship diagram modeling, we present the Agile CPW Process Method modeling or Agile Process Method modeling with the example of the coffee shop. What we have here is the end-to-end business process of the coffee shop or coffee shop order management. A client comes into the coffee shop, expresses his wishes, decides for special coffee, after that he pays, and then he takes the coffee and leaves the coffee shop. So you see here 3 process steps of the coffee shop order management. To explain now some things about the method and how about the approach, it's enough when we have one process step. You see on the left hand 2 columns the representation with the CPW process method, on the right hand with the 2 columns the representation with the business process modeling notation 2.0. You see on the left side that we have 3 graphical objects to represent a simple sentence with a CPW subject, a CPW predicate, and a CPW object. The CPW subject is coffee shop sales assistant Mary, the CPW predicate is says, and the CPW object is hello. So you see the whole simple sentence represented with a CPW subject, a CPW predicate, and a CPW object. What you also see is the process step is represented in direct speech. Mary says hello. And in addition, you see in the CPW object with step 001 hashtag welcoming to client. And welcoming to client is an abstraction from the CPW process step in direct speech. And this welcoming to client is an abstract function. And this abstract function with welcoming to client is used to represent the process step with business process modeling notation 2.0. On the right side, welcoming to client. In addition, is welcoming to client also a logical layer as a function? Now is the question, what is a logical layer? A logical layer is a result of an analysis of a business area where you try to bring things together. Normally, you can also use the object-oriented approach, which is based on the principle decomposing, abstraction, and hierarchy, if hierarchy is possible. So you analyze the things and then you connect the things with hashtag. So we have hashtag function, hashtag subfunction, for example. Or you have hashtag area and hashtag sub-area. Or in some cases, you bring the things together and represent the things with hashtag notation, and in the analysis phase, you don't see at the moment the hierarchy. Perhaps you see it later then. In addition, in the row below, you have hashtag activity, hashtag task. And this is also belongs to logical layer, which is the logical layer business process. The logical layer, CPW, logical layer business process modeling notation 2.0. And with this logical layer, you can represent more and less many things from the guideline, from the business process modeling notation 2.0. So, you have here now the 3 steps of the end-to-end process from the coffee shop order management. You have the step 001, welcoming to client, where Mary says hello, and on the right side, welcoming to client. Then on the left side, and the next process step, you have coffee shop client, Paul, says hello. Then you have with step 002, the abstraction with an abstract function, which belongs to a logical layer, welcoming to assistant. And then on the right side, welcoming to assistant. And the third process step, you have coffee shop sales assistant Mary says, what do you like? And then you have hashtag step 003, takes order from client. On the right side, you have takes order from client. And in all process steps, you have, in this case, hashtag activity, hashtag task, which belongs to the logical layer, CPW, logical layer business process modeling notation 2.0. So again, we have here the end-to-end process of the coffee shop order management. We have in the header the swim lanes with header, coffee shop sales assistant, coffee shop client. Then we have the major principle of the CPW process method, which is CPW process is represented as a simple sentence with a CPW subject, a CPW predicate, and a CPW object. And the CPW process is represented in direct speech. The CPW process step with hashtag notation is CPW subject, hashtag coffee shop sales assistant, hashtag Mary, CPW predicate, hashtag says, CPW object, hashtag hello. So, the CPW process has been abstracted as an abstract function with hashtag notation. Hashtag function can be assigned to a logical layer. Hashtag step 001, hashtag welcoming to client. Description of the process step of business process modeling notation 2.0. Representation of activity and task of business process modeling notation 2.0 with CPW logical layer business process modeling notation 2.0. Hashtag activity, hashtag task in the CPW object. So we are coming to the next process steps, and then we go in full screen modus. So what we see here in the step 004, coffee shop client Paul says a coffee please. And then we have in step 004 the abstracted function, hashtag orders a coffee, and we see on the right side orders a coffee with a representation of business process modeling notation 2.0. Then we have the next process step with step 005. Coffee shop sales assistant Mary says a filter coffee or Americano coffee. Step 005, places questions with choice of a filter coffee or Americano coffee. And then we see here, we have a gateway with business process modeling notation 2.0 on the right side. But now, again, with the CPW process method, we have only these three graphical objects to represent the process step with the CPW subject, the CPW predicate, and the CPW object to represent one process step. And we have no additional graphical objects. And this is a very important feature from the CPW process method, that you have no additional graphical objects, for example, to represent the gateway. So on the left side, then you have these two branches of the decision. If there is the decision of an Americano coffee, there will be called then and subprocess 001 serve Americano coffee. Then we have the filter coffee shop client Paul says a filter coffee with space for milk. Step 006 hashtag decides for a filter coffee with space for milk. Then you have on the right side decides for a filter coffee with space for milk after the gateway. On the left side you have the decision for the Americano coffee. You see only an endpoint, but from the endpoint can also call the sub-process with serve Americano coffee. So we have the decision either or as exclusive or. Selection represented with hashtag gateway, hashtag exclusive gateway in the CPW object with the CPW logical layer business process modeling notation 2.0. Subprocess 001 serve an Americano coffee. Then we have business process modeling notation 2.0 with a gateway. Business process modeling notation 2.0 only with endpoint, subro serve an Americano coffee. Now we are coming to the CPW process level 1. The CPW process level 1 is in tabular format. And the CPW process level 1 is from the graphical representation of the CPW process. The CPW process level 1 is, as said before, in direct speech, and the CPW process 1 describes a dialogue between hashtag coffee shop sales assistant and hashtag coffee shop client in direct speech. Dialogue between hashtag coffee shop sales assistant and hashtag coffee shop client and consists here welcome, questions and answers and decisions of the client regarding the product. We have here the CPW process level 1. So we go to full screen from the CPW process level 1. You see in the first column the process steps from step 001 until step 006. So we go to the second column. There you have the function responsibility, which is more and less the headlines from the swim lanes. In this case we have coffee shop sales assistant and coffee shop client. Then in the third column we have the whole representation of the process step with hashtag notation. And in this example we have, for example, coffee shop sales assistant, Mary says hello. And then we have in the next columns, 4 columns, we have the complete representation of the CPW process step again. In the first column we have the responsibility with role and function, coffee shop sales assistant. Then we have the concrete name with Mary. And then the second last column we have the CPW predicate with says, and the last column is the CPW object with hello. Then we have all process steps from step 1 until step 006. And you see the representation of the process step are in direct speech, because it's the dialogue between coffee shop sales assistant and coffee shop client. So again, the CPW process level 2 now is derived from the CPW process level 1. Described dialogue of the CPW process level 1 in direct speech is dissolved and is abstracted. Abstract hashtag function is represented in the hashtag notation as logical layer. Abstract hashtag function with hashtag notation can be assigned to a logical layer. Process steps of the CPW process level 2 are assigned to the CPW process, CPW logical layer, business process, modeling notation 2.0. So we come here to the CPW process level 2. Then we see the CPW process level 2 in full screen. What we see now here is, so we go, the structure is closely the same. In the third column, in the second column, you see, for example, the first column is still the number of the process steps, second column is headlines from the swim lanes, and then in the third column we have the representation of the process step completely in hashtag notation, where it says coffee shop sales assistant says hashtag welcoming to client. What you see is the direct speech is dissolved. We have not anymore a concrete name for the coffee shop sales assistant, and we have no direct speech, and instead of this we have the abstract function, which is in this case hashtag welcoming to client. Then in the following columns we have the CPW subject, the CPW predicate, and the CPW object, and in the second last column we have the representation of the CPW logical layer, business process, modeling notation 2.0. In all rows we have activity task, in exception with step 005. We have here an hashtag gateway, hashtag exclusive gateway, as we have also seen in the graphical representation. In the last column is an extra column for the logical layer with the CPW functions, where we have all found hashtag functions for the process steps, step 001 until step 006. So now we are coming to the CPW process level 3. The CPW process level 3 is derived from the CPW process level 1 and the CPW process level 2. The CPW process level 3, wherein the CPW process is represented as simple sentence with the CPW subject, the CPW predicate, and the CPW object, are even more abstracted. Searching to the found abstract formulations were the generic terms and abstract terms to incorporate them into the formulations of the CPW objects. The found several generic terms. They can also be put into brackets, so that the simple sentence represented as simple as CPW process is still readable with a CPW subject, a CPW predicate, and a CPW object. So we see here the CPW process level 3. So we go to the full screen of the CPW process level 3. So what we see is the process steps are even more abstracted, and now we go to the second last row, where we have the coffee shop sales assistant asks the client with choice of product type filter coffee or Americano coffee. So what we see here, we have the key terms product type filter coffee, and we have here also in the last row, for example, we have the coffee shop client decides for filter coffee with space for milk. And then we see exactly in brackets product type and also in brackets product type attribute. And what we also see is the process step is still readable with coffee shop client decides for filter coffee with space for milk. And in the last column, we have still the representation of the CPW logical layer business process modeling notation 2.0. So now we are coming to the creation of the CPW subject-object context diagram clusters. To create the overall CPW subject-object context diagram cluster are created one to several clusters, the so-called CPW subject-object context diagram clusters. A created CPW subject-object context diagram cluster to cover one to several process steps from the CPW process level 3. To create the CPW subject-object context diagram cluster is used especially the CPW process level 3. The defined generic terms in the CPW subject and CPW objects of a process step of the CPW process level 3. All process steps of the complete end-to-end process of the CPW process level 3 are covered at the end to create one to several CPW subject-object context diagram clusters. Further approach. At the creation of the first CPW subject-object context diagram cluster, you consider what is the overriding purpose or also the overall objective of the end-to-end business process. We have here coffee shop order management within the coffee shop. Question now, who is responsible for this? Or who is responsible for what? And we have here the coffee shop sales assistant and the coffee shop client. So, we are coming here to the first cluster. You see here, in the middle, the overriding purpose of the end-to-end process from the coffee shop order management, which is coffee shop order management as a CPW object. Then on the right side, we have the coffee shop client. Then we abstracted even more the coffee shop sales assistant as in coffee shop employee. And then we have above the abstract key term coffee shop roles, which is either assistant or, for example, it could be also director or executive director. Or it could be also the head of coffee shop, but he comes perhaps only one time a month. Then below we have the coffee shop business sales function, which is sales. Then we are coming to the next CPW subject-object context diagram cluster. Normally, you can summarize one to several process steps of the CPW process level 3 to a topic, so that you can create again the next CPW subject-object context diagram cluster according to a topic. The approach is repeated as long as until all process steps of the end-to-end business process of the CPW process level 3 have been covered. And now we have the questions. How are the relationships to the found CPW subject and the CPW objects? Which attributes can be assigned to the CPW subject and the CPW objects? How are their characteristics? Important attribute, the status of a process step of the CPW process level 3. Now we have here the next CPW subject-object context diagram cluster, and you see we have here welcome types and welcome. And what we have done is we summarized 1 to several process steps according to an appropriate topic. And then we said, these process steps comes together, and then we have welcome types and welcome. And with these 1 to several process steps, with the topic, welcome types and welcome, we created the next CPW subject object context diagram cluster. So the next cluster is with the topic dialogue questions, answers, types, and dialogue questions, answers. And then we have here the next CPW subject object context diagram cluster, which is coffee shop service product types and coffee shop service product. Then we have also coffee types cup, and on the right side milk bar. And now we are coming to an interesting thing, because we have here milk bar has a relationship to coffee shop client. And why is this so? Because the client, the coffee shop client, gets at the end of the sales process from the coffee shop sales assistant, and in this process he gets a cup of coffee with filter coffee in it, and then the client takes the cup of coffee with filter coffee and say thank you, and then afterwards he goes to the milk bar and fill with a milk bottle the filter coffee with the cup of coffee with filter coffee, and fills milk in it with a bottle of milk, because he ordered a filter coffee with space for milk. But now again, what happens if the bottle is empty? And at this stage, game over. And why? At the current stage, these process steps are not covered. And this is the reason why we have at this moment no relationship between milk bar and coffee shop employee. In case, for example, the coffee shop client says, oh, the bottle is empty, the coffee shop sales assistant will come and say, okay, and say, wait a minute, and then the coffee shop sales assistant goes into the kitchen, takes the next full bottle of milk and bring it back, and then the world is fine, because the coffee shop client fills with a full bottle of milk in his cup of coffee with filter coffee, the milk what he likes. And then he will say thank you to the assistant, and he will a little while in the coffee shop, or he will leave the coffee shop and say farewell. And again, if we would cover these process steps, then we would have a relationship between the coffee shop employee and the milk bar. And this is now crucial for the whole model, because only you represent in the CPW subject-object context diagram cluster only these relationships which are represented in the end-to-end process. And then we have at last the farewell types and farewell. So now we are coming to the next. So with a so far created CPW subject-object context diagram cluster, it is now possible to create the overall CPW subject-object context diagram for the end-to-end business process of the CPW process level 3 of the coffee shop order management. So just wait a minute. So, thank you. So we have here now the overall CPW subject, object, context diagram. You see above the coffee shop order management with the overriding purpose. Then on the left side you have the coffee shop employee. Then above you have the coffee shop business area function, which is in this case sales. And then we have the coffee shop roles, which is assistant, could be also a director or executive director, or the head of, but he comes only one time a month, perhaps, I don't know. Then on the right side we have the coffee shop client. Then we have the cluster welcome types and welcome. Then we are coming to the next cluster, which is dialogue questions answers type and dialogue questions answers. And then again we have coffee shop service product types and coffee shop service product. And then we have coffee types cup and milk bar. And we see again, milk bar has a relationship to the coffee shop client, but has no relationship to the coffee shop sales assistant. And the reason is because it's not covered that the coffee shop sales assistant will fill the bottle of milk or bring a new bottle of milk in case the bottle of milk is empty. And what I said again, only these relationships which are covered in this diagram of the CPW subject object context diagram, only these relationships are covered because we have these relationships also in the process steps of the CPW process level 3. So we have the last one where we have farewell types and farewell. Then we are coming to the next one.